And I think we're live. The internet is wonky today, so I might cut in and out here and there, but I'll do my best to stare or on the waves of the internet. Yes, I use Cliff Notes. I also use other books. As you can see, I got this one for 25 cents at a yard sale. It's volume one of, oh, and the cover came off. It's been well used, well thumbed. It's Robert Graves, The Greek Myths, and this is just volume one. Robert Graves is famous, but he had some weird ideas. Anyway, here's one of the illustrations. It's, of course, the birth of Venus, or as some people like to call Botticelli's painting, The Birth of Venus. We like to call it Venus on the Half Shell. Anyway, Oswald and Strontium. Let me see. Uh, this here book is, of course, it's Aphrodite. Venus equals Aphdite. However, Women's Day. Joseph. Every day is Women's Day, unless it's Men's Day. Oh, the White Goddess by Graves. Graves isn't the best source, but he's a pretty good source. Um, let's see. I used this story. It's from Homer's Iliad, I believe, somewhere in there. The Iliad or the Odyssey, and the Robert Graves book for background to my novel, Fallen Angels. I haven't quite gotten to the part where Venus and Mars do a little dance or a la Worlds in Collision by Immanuel Velikovsky. But if I ever get the chance to write volume two, it will be there. All right, page 72 in this book. And um, of course, in Greek, Venus is Aphrodite and Mars is Ares, and Vulcan is Hephaestus. So here, Mars equals Ares and Vulcan. We're more familiar with the Roman names, equals. Before I hit enter, I'm going to check my spelling of Hephaestus. That's it. I got it. Well, I think we might let men have half of the days. But there's 365 days, so we get one extra. Because women outlive men, so there's more of us. Seems fair to me. All the gods of the Gentiles are devils. Yes, they are. Google account, I've forgotten. I probably know your real name, but I don't remember. Anyway, you see, Mars and Venus had this here love affair. I'll bet that was in that Roman poet, Lucretius, or maybe What's his name? He wrote about the art of love. I didn't prepare to talk about Roman myth, but anyway, Venus and Mars had this here love affair, but Venus was married to Vulcan. Aphrodite was the most beautiful goddess, so she had to get married to the ugliest of the gods, and that was Vulcan slash Hephaestus. So anyway, Mars kind of had the hots for Venus. And that's very much like what I think happened to the solar system when that planet blew up and formed the asteroid belt. That but Mars came along and knocked him away, kicked him out, and did a dance around Venus, and then Venus and Mars both caused terrible destruction on the Earth because their orbits were all messed up. Oh yeah, the original Star Trek series used a lot of Greek and Roman myth. Let's see. Hephaestus. Let's see. Actually, they gave me the wrong page number. Aphrodite, it's page 71, not 2. Aphrodite could seldom be persuaded to lend the other goddesses her magic girdle, which made everyone fall in love with its wearer, for she was jealous father of the 3 children with whom she presented him, Phobos, Deimos, and Harmonia. So 2 of them, Phobos and Deimos, are the moons of Mars. I don't know what Harmonia was, but the true father of the 3 children that Aphrodite had was Ares, a straight limbed, impetuous, drunken, and quarrelsome god of war. Hephaestus knew nothing of the deception until one night the lovers stayed too long together in bed at Ares' Thracian palace. So they were in a palace in Thrace, basically Turkey. Then Helios, as he rose, that's the sun, saw them at their sport and told tales to Hephaestus. Now, Apollo, that's moderators. Okay, let's see. So he retired to his forge and hammered gossamer, but quite unbreakable, which he secretly attached to the posts and sides of his marriage bed. He told Aphrodite, who returned from Thrace, all smiles, explaining that she had been away on business at Corinth. Pray excuse me, dear wife. I am taking a short holiday on Lemnos, my favorite island. Aphrodite, Hephaestus, turning back from his journey, surprised them there and summoned all the gods to witness his dishonor. He then announced that he would not release his wife until the valuable marriage gifts which he had paid her and the gods to watch Aphrodite's embarrassment. But the goddesses, from a sense of delicacy, stayed in their houses. Apollo, nudging Hermes, asked, and Hermes is Mercury, okay? But in my I guess imagination, our planet Mercury is really Vulcan or Hephaestus. So Apollo nudged Hermes and asked, "You would not mind being in Ares' position, would you, net and all?" Hermes swore by his own head that he would not, even if there were 3 times as many nets, and all the goddesses were looking on with disapproval. At this, both gods laughed uproariously, but Zeus was so disgusted that he refused to hand back the marriage gifts or to interfere in a vulgar dispute between husband and wife, declaring that Hephaestus was a fool to have made the affair public. It's buffering again? Oh man, I hope you didn't miss too much. Okay, Vulcan caught Venus and Mars in bed and trapped them in a net that they couldn't break. All the gods were looking on, but the goddesses, out of a sense of propriety, stayed in their houses. Vulcan demanded that Jupiter give back his marriage gifts, and Jupiter said, "No, you're stupid to make this affair public and embarrass yourself." At sight of Aphrodite's naked body, had fallen in love with her. Poseidon concealed his jealousy of Ares and pretended to sympathize with Hephaestus. "Since Zeus refuses to help," he said, "I will undertake that Ares, as a fee for his release, pays the equivalent of the marriage gifts in question." I don't know about the buffering. Mine seems to be doing okay, even though I don't have a strong signal today. Let's see. Uh, you get to hear everything. Oops, oops, typo. hmm I hate tiny keyboards. Okay, so that is all very well, Hephaestus replied gloomily. But if Ares defaults, you will have to take his place under the net. Well, folks, that's exactly what Hermes wants. In Aphrodite's company, Apollo asked, laughing. "I cannot think that Ares will default," Poseidon said nobly. "But if he should do so, I am ready to pay the debt and marry Aphrodite myself." So Ares was set at liberty and returned to Thrace, and Aphrodite went to Paphos, where she renewed her virginity in the sea. Well, of course, Poseidon, god of the sea, renews her virginity. Flattered by Hermes' frank confession of his love for her, Aphrodite presently, that means soon, spent a night with him, the fruit of which was hermaphroditus, a double-sexed being. And so we get our term hermaphrodite for someone who has both male parts and female parts. Or maybe that guy who's sending all those satellites up into space will provide us with decent internet. Do you know that in Europe they have high speed internet and at a reasonable cost? I mean, I spent over an hour downloading an audio file, and the guy who sent it to me said he downloaded it in less than 5 minutes. Well, it's very rare, but sometimes a child is born with both male and female parts. And the custom has been for the doctor to tell the parents and ask them, "Do you want this child to be a boy or a girl?" Um, of course, nowadays they can actually check the DNA and see whether the baby is XX or XY, because if you have two X chromosomes, you really are a biological female. If you identify as the opposite gender, fine. But I am totally against the hormone therapy and surgeries for anyone. I wouldn't say just under 18, I would say under 21, because so many change their minds. Oh boy. But I'm not, and I'm good with that. Besides, a boy could not have gotten pregnant and produced a son for my husband. I've never been attracted to women in that way. I'm rarely attracted to men, which is one reason why I never married again. Hormone therapy can and often does lead to things like cancer, but there are many, many stories of especially girls who wanted to be boys suddenly discovering that they love boys. And a lot of it is due to the history of, you can't do that, you're a girl. Didn't stop me. When I was in kindergarten, I got my first, well, no, actually, second boyfriend. That's another story. Kenny, I got a boyfriend so I could play with trucks and blocks because I was not interested in the play kitchen. And pretending to cook food and wash dishes, I did that at home for real. Anyway, in fact, many adults have opted out of the surgical change because it is not a minor operation. No matter which way you're going, male to female or female to male, it's major. All right. So anyway, this goes on and on about how Aphrodite had this magic girdle that made all the gods fall in love with her. But what I really want to get to is, all right, where'd I put the Cliff's notes? There, here we go. You can tell how old this is because the cover price was $2.50. I got it for free when I was teaching. They gave it to me. I thought there was an apostrophe in Cliff's. There isn't. Okay, Cliff's notes, no apostrophe. Okay, what I want to get to is the cosmology, because especially in medieval times, but also ever since the 18th century when Epicurus was rediscovered, some guy who was searching for ancient manuscripts found a manuscript of Epicurus. Might have been Lucretius talking about Epicurus. Anyway, Epicurus was rediscovered. Epicurus, ancient Greek philosopher. Now, Epicurus, I capitalized Greek. Oh well. Anyway, he's like several hundred BC, I think. Hmm. Seals and Croft? I don't know. Hi there, James. I remember. Awesome, awesome. Uh, our cosmology, which we think of as Christian because of Dante's Divine Comedy and stuff like that, really comes from ancient Greek myth. So we should know, here we go, something about that. Greek myth has creation, the flood, all kinds of stuff. So let's start with the creation. At first, there was nothing but none. None. Primeval ocean. Probably referring to empty space, which isn't empty. Outer space. Let's call it that. Now, let's get back. Oh, this is Egyptian, by the way. Egyptian creation myth. Now, the Greeks got lots of their knowledge from Egypt, so we'll start with Egypt. So at first there was nothing but none, the primal ocean of chaos, which contained the seeds of everything to come. Sounds an awful lot like Big Bang or something I went through in previous shows about Klineman, the Epicurean idea that at first there was total chaos, and of course it stated best in the atomic theories of like Democritus and those guys, and Leucippus. And the Roman poet Lucretius tells us about it, and Lucretius came up with the term clinamen for the teeny tiny bit of difference in a sea of sameness caused everything that we see to come to be. Now, in Egyptian myth, you have total chaos. In Greek myth, it's chaos, but it's also cosmos because in the extreme they are the same thing. In this jumble of waters, the sun god reposed. Finally, by an exertion of will, he emerged from chaos as Ra and gave birth to Shu and Tefnut by himself. In turn, Shu, the god of air, and Tefnut, the goddess of moisture, gave birth to Geb and Nut, the earth god and sky goddess. Thus, the physical universe was created. And the first son of Geb and Nut, Osiris, blah, blah, blah. You probably know about Osiris and Set. Now, in Indian myth, we don't really have creation myth as such. Here we go. Indra and the dragon. Once the mighty priest Tavashtri, out of dislike for the god Indra, created a three-headed son to take over Indra's throne. This son, S-O-N, was a pious ascetic who appeared to be mastering the universe with his three heads, which made Indra uneasy. After futilely tempting Tavashtri's son with dancing girls, Indra slew the radiant young man with a thunderbolt and ordered that his three heads be cut off. Enraged, Tavashtri made a colossal dragon named Vritra to destroy Indra. The serpent reached up to the heavens and swallowed Indra, but Indra tickled its throat and leapt out to resume battle. The dragon proved too strong and Indra had to flee. At length he went to the god Vishnu, who advised him to compromise with the dragon. The serpent agreed to peace, provided that Indra did not attack it with solid or liquid, or attack it by day or night. Indra, however, nursed his resentment and tried to get around this agreement. One evening at twilight, Indra saw a huge column of foam containing the god Vishnu, so he hurled this at the dragon, who fell dead. The gods and men rejoiced at the serpent's death, but Indra bore a great sin for killing a priest's son. We have serpents in of course, Genesis and in Babylonian myth and all over the place. But let's get down to the Greeks. Here we go. The Greeks have a creation myth, and it's kind of like the Egyptian myth. But you see, the Greeks had this habit of adopting the gods of foreigners. Oh, Evie is here, and Mr. Sugar Patch, True L. Let's see. What has your mom not read, James? Any Philip K. Dick or any of my books? Okay, in the beginning there was only chaos, an empty void. Greek creation myth. Sounds a lot like Egyptian myth. But somehow this enormous vacancy gave birth to Gaia, the earth, to Tartarus, the great region beneath the earth, and to Eros, the shining god of love and attraction. Chaos also bore Erebus, the darkness of the netherworld and night, the darkness over the earth. Then Erebus slept with night, who gave birth to Ether, the heavenly light, and to day, the earthly light. Later, night alone produced such beings as doom, fate, death, sleep, dreams, nemesis, and a long list of other atrocities that steal upon men in darkness. Meanwhile, Gaia, without help, gave birth to Uranos. We might say Uranus or Uranus or Uranos, means heaven. Uranos, the starry sky, to the mountains, and to Pontus, the sterile sea. Uranos then became Gaia's mate and equal, for he covered her on all sides. Of course, we know Uranos as a planet between Saturn and Neptune. This primordial couple, sky and earth, produced the 12 Titans, the 3 towering wheel-eyed Cyclopes, the one-eyed Cyclops, and the 3 terrible Hecatonchires with 50 heads and 100 arms apiece. However, Uranus proved to be a harsh husband and father. Each of the Hecatonchires hated him, and he hated them in return. In his anger, Uranos pushed them back into Gaia's womb and kept them there. Gaia writhed in pain at this and plotted revenge upon her mate. She fashioned a flint, sickle, and called upon her other children to avenge her. So these giants with 100 arms and 100 heads each are stuck in Gaia's womb. No matter how you pronounce it, Uranos is like a funny word. Guys, I'm working on a book. I hope to finish it this month. The X in Exegesis. One can always hope. Okay, so Gaia, the earth, fashioned a flint sickle and called upon her other children to avenge her. The Titans and Cyclopes recoiled in fear of their father, and only the last born Titan, Chronos, was daring enough. Cliff's notes have this habit of spelling things with the Latin. It's actually like this: Chronos, Latin, Gronus, Greek, Kron. Now you see, Chronos, time is Chronus. Saturn is Kronos. They are not the same word. Later generations confused Saturn's name with time, but he's not the god of time. He's the youngest of the 12 Titans that were the sons of heaven and earth. That night, when Ouranos came to lie with Gaia, the crafty Chronos was hiding in ambush. He grabbed his father's genitals and severed them with his mother's sickle. He castrated his father. As the blood fell to earth, the Furies who punish crimes, the ash tree nymphs, and the race of giants were created. Chronos heaved. In other words, his sexual organs that had been cut off, he tossed them into the ocean. And guess what? From the foam that formed on the sea when he tossed in his genitals arose Aphrodite, the beautiful goddess of love who floated along and stepped ashore at Cyprus. And since there might be confusion, it's Cyprus, not Cyprus, not the island of Cyprus, but Cyprus. Okay, I better refresh my memory. Where is Cyprus? I think it's in Turkey, but you never know. Come on, you evil thing. Load the page for me. Okay, Cyprus is the island that's kind of divided it's the island that's kind of divided half Greek, half Turkish. Now, Cyprus, like RESS, let's see where that is. I'm sure they're not the same thing. By the way, Cyprus means copper. There was a lot of copper. Now I got a typo. Okay. No. Not the one in Southern California. You stupid. Come on. Well, apparently, it's the same thing, just spelled different. Okay, never mind. Cypress is a town in Southern California that I know somewhat well. Anyway, it's copper. They were mining copper there. Okay, so we got Aphrodite, born from the foam of the sea. Sounds kind of like, not cat. Jeez. Come on, guys. My brain just quit. Okay. God of the Incas, foam of the sea. I put an extra A on sea. No, foam of the sea. not para, whatever. Viracocha. Yeah, Viracocha equals foam of the sea. Inca god, little g. Not Sam. Foam. Evil keyboard. Well, anyway, the mutilated Chronos either withdrew forever from the earth or else he perished. But before he did so, he promised that Chronos and the other titans would be punished. Now, the simple form of this is that in the beginning we had heaven and earth. Gaia, okay, in Latin, Terra, and Saturn. And they had children who were lesser gods, and they overthrew Chronos, Saturn, because he was a bad man. Now, the planet Saturn, of course, has rings where the god Saturn was neutered. Well, I'm sorry, where the god Saturn was cut open in his belly. You see, he swallowed his children, but his wife, Rhea, RH, Rhea, and I'll just go with Saturn. It's more familiar to us. Uh, she hid her last son, Jupiter, Zeus, in the earth, in her mother, Earth, and gave Saturn a rock wrapped in swaddling clothes, which he swallowed. And when Zeus/Jupiter grew up, he cut open his father's belly and let out his brothers and sisters. There still weren't any human beings, by the way. And on and on. That version of the creation was taken largely from Hesiod, a Greek poet of the 7th century BC. But there is an earlier version. Okay, Hesiod, like that. Now, that's 7th century BC. That's about the time when Israel was occupied by Israelites and they had kings. It was sometime after 600 BC, I think in 585, that Babylon conquered Judah. But in the years from 700 to 600 BC, somewhere in there, Assyria conquered the northern kingdom of Israel. And Hesiod was writing down ancient myth, but there is an alternative, which is even earlier. Eurynome, the goddess of all creation, arose from chaos and separated the sea from the sky. Or in Genesis, God divided the waters above from the waters below. Then, dancing naked upon the waves, she created the wind and rubbed it in her hands to create the serpent Ophion, who made love to her. Pregnant, Eurynome became a dove and laid the world egg. World egg, there's a place in Greece where it's supposed to be, by the way. And Ophion coiled about the egg and hatched it. This egg brought forth the cosmos and everything in it. Then Eurynome and Ophion settled on Olympus, but their union was unhappy. When Ophion proclaimed himself the creator, Eurynome banished him to the netherworld. Finally, Eurynome established the 7 planets, each with a Titan and Titaness to rule it. Doesn't explain where the Titans came from. When man appeared, he sprang from the soil. Yeah, God, with his hands, formed Adam from the dust of the earth or the clay. Yeah, well, Greeks didn't care about contradiction. Maybe there were waves because she was walking on water. When man appeared, he sprang from the soil, and the first man, Pelasgus, taught the others to eat acorns, build huts, and make a rude garment. Okay. Of course, Prometheus made man, and the gods were angry not because he made humans, but because he gave humans the divine spark of knowledge. Not the animals out of clay, and gave them unstable connection. Not sure how much you missed. Prometheus formed the animals from clay and breathed life into them. Sounds familiar. And then he made man. Well, he had given each of the animals some form of defense, like sharp fangs, claws, hooves, speed, ability to hide, camouflage. He had no gifts left for man, so he asked the Olympian god. See, Prometheus was a Titan. Uh, his name means forethought. He had a brother, Epimetheus. Epimetheus is afterthought. Prometheus is forethought. Anyway, he had nothing left, and he asked the gods, the Olympian gods, to give him fire from Mount Olympus for his creation, these humans. And they said no. So Prometheus stole the fire and gave it to man anyway. And this could literally be fire, the ability to make fire to scare the animals away so they don't get eaten. Or it could be the spark of forbidden knowledge, divine knowledge. So that kind of places Prometheus in the position of the serpent in Eden. Maybe Zeus had a waiver. Well, in the old version, Zeus didn't exist yet. Anyway, Prometheus ended up chained to a rock where every day an eagle came and ate his liver, and every night his liver grew back. So it's eternal punishment. That's kind of like the eternal punishments in Dante's Inferno for the bad guys. Okay. Now the Greeks and Romans. Okay. Lovers of Zeus, Poseidon, I think it was Perseus who cut the chains and freed Prometheus. And Perseus was entirely human, but he freed a god, Orpheus. We want to get into the roots of Gnosticism, and Orpheus is a good place to start. Orpheus. The greatest mortal musician of all was Orpheus, the son of a Thracian prince and the muse Calliope. So he's half divine. He was, although Calliope was a minor deity. He was beloved of Apollo, who presented him with a wondrous lyre. Vitamin C deprived, huh? Eating oranges. I had a dream in which I wanted to pick that fruit off that tree and they wouldn't let me. They said no. But I still wanted it. Well, anyway, Apollo gave him this string instrument called a lyre. Orpheus became a devotee of Dionysus. Bad move there. He's Bacchus in Rome. Dionysus is the god of drunken orgies, and the women, the Maenads who followed Dionysus, would roam the woods at night and tear animals apart with their bare hands. And sometimes, if a lover was come upon in the night, they would tear him apart. Women didn't travel alone, so it was always a man. Just grab him and tear him apart with their bare hands. That really happened. Even the Greeks were horrified. Okay, so Orpheus became a devotee of Dionysus and practiced the mysteries. He achieved vast skill on the lyre. Through the magical power of his music, rivers changed their courses, trees and wild beasts followed him enraptured. Stones arranged themselves in a circle around him, and no mortal, divine, or natural force was immune to his enchantment. Blah, blah, blah. He fell in love with Eurydice, and they got married, but a snake, a venomous snake, a viper, bit Eurydice and killed her. Now, the king and he wanted his wife back, but she was in the land of the dead. He played his music and charmed the watchdog of Hades to allow him to pass, melted the hearts of the Furies, and spellbound all the frightful powers of the netherworld. The king and queen of hell were softened by his music, and they agreed to let him take Eurydice back to the land of the living, provided that he did not look back along the way. Orpheus led his love back to the realm of light, so it's dark in the underworld. As he stepped from the cavern of the underworld, he anxiously glanced behind him, eager to see Eurydice. But he did so too quickly, for she had not yet emerged. She faded from his sight, murmuring farewell. From that time forth, Orpheus avoided inhabited places, keeping to the wilds of Thrace. He still played the lyre, but he lacked the old enthusiasm. Orpheus took no other women, and for that reason the lecherous Maenads hated him. As he wandered in the forest one day, those frenzied worshippers of Dionysus swept upon him and tore him to pieces. They threw his head into a river, where it floated out to sea and came to the island of Lesbos, and there it uttered prophecies. I hope the oranges were good, Oswald. Anyway, no, Oswald is Joseph, by the way. Mm. And of course, there's stuff about the House of Atreus. So if you read or seen Dune, the Atreides are based on this ancient Greek myth, which is probably historical fact. I want you to get one thing through your head. Myth does not mean fiction. Myth simply means a story in which there are gods, um, divine beings, supernatural beings. But for example, Homer's Iliad was considered fiction. You know, the Trojan War and all that, until Heinrich Schliemann dug up Troy. Oh, I have a visitor. Ah, look out, Tora. I'm coming. He saw you coming and ran to the door. Oh my, that's a lot of fun.
I think you're saying
My
there's
show
four
is
of them.
my show is running long, but you're free to stay anyway. Oh my. Definitely. You see, the Lions Club in our area saves these white caps from the water bottles. Each one, they turn them into this charity where each bottle cap provides 10 minutes of 1 minute. Oh, okay, 1 minute of dialysis for a kidney patient. And Rhea, the goddess here that we talked about earlier, got a whole bunch of bottle caps donated by the teenagers out of school in Redlands. Actually,
Yes.
the first time she fished them out of the trash, but I think she made them actually hand them to her this time because they're clean. She used to teach there, but she still um, helps with the rehearsals and performances of the theater group. Anyway, um, this means I need to scoot on out of here. I've been going for an hour anyway. So we'll continue this probably tomorrow, maybe later tonight. So thank you all for listening. Yeah, the kidneys in the Bible are the reins. They seem to be your brains, they control you. I really gotta go. You die without at least one kidney. I'll catch you guys later and thank you all for listening. Bye. Okay.